here at St. Mary's College High School. And today we're going to have a panel of alumni to be able to speak about their college experience and some of their reflections on the process and advice for students and parents who might benefit from it who are currently attending St. Mary's. And we just have a few questions, and hopefully you'll take the time to be able to enjoy, get to know our current alumni and also faculty that work at St. Mary's, and be able to engage with them in the process. So we look forward to being able to have you learn some informational points, and please enjoy the presentation.
So my name is Mr. Mesquita. I'm St. Mary's class of 2014. So I was born in Brazil, which means I'm an immigrant. I'm also undocumented. So for me, the college process was a little bit different because immigrants and people who are not citizens do not qualify for federal financial aid. So for a lot of years, I had folks just telling me that I would never be able to go to college because I would never be able to afford college. But that's not true. And so if you're undocumented, if you know folks who are undocumented, you can receive financial aid in California. And I think for me, understanding that process was very empowering and helped me pursue my dreams. The second thing I wanted to talk about is when I was going through the process, I applied to a program called QuestBridge. And this program, the deadline's coming up, but it's a program for low-income minority students, and it helped me get a head start on the applications. It helped me start working on my applications a lot sooner in September and October. And also, if you're matched with one of the QuestBridge schools, you receive financial aid through the schools and through that program. And so that was a program that was very important to me. I did not go to a QuestBridge school, but the program opened my mind and my vision to all the possibilities, to all the schools that were out there. In the process, when I started, I was limiting the number of schools that I was applying to. I didn't think I could really get into a lot of schools. My SAT scores was not that great. And during that process, I just kept telling myself no. And it was QuestBridge, it was my counselors who really pushed me to apply to more schools, to apply to more reach schools, and that's the advice that I'd want to give you. Make sure that, yes, you apply to a couple safety schools, but go out there, put yourself out there. The application process, it's really about telling your story and working with your college counselors to tell the narrative, tell the arc of your story, and really show where you're going. And so I think, one bad grade or one, bad SAT score, I know now it's optional in a lot of cases, that doesn't define who you are. You have to really be able to tell your narrative and your story. And the last thing I'll say, I went to UC Berkeley here, and I know that a lot of people don't want to stay local. I think that you need to go where you feel comfortable. But what I learned is I used to think that I knew Cal. I used to think that I knew Berkeley because I went to school at St. Mary's. I grew up around here. But once you get to campus, wherever that may be, here in Berkeley, in San Francisco, even if it's a local school, the school is a city in itself, and there's so much there that we do not know. So do not shut your opportunities out, because you don't want to be close to home or because you do want to go far. Just keep all your options open. At this point, that's the most important thing. Don't limit yourselves. And so that's a little bit about my story. Again, I'm always happy to talk more about my immigration story, and I hope that that is not a barrier for anyone. So that's a little bit about me, and I will pass it off to Ms. Chua.
Hi there, my name is Miss Jenny Chua. I graduated from St. Mary's in 2016. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my career path to teaching. I'll touch a little bit on college and things of that nature. I've always really enjoyed being in school. I went to Prospect Sierra for elementary school, and when I was in middle school, we could take part in electives, and my elective, my 7th grade year, was to be a TA for the 5th grade teacher, and I loved grading. Ironic now that grading is my least favorite part of teaching, but I loved just getting to play teacher. When I got to St. Mary's, I really feel like I developed who I was personality-wise, my sense of humor, who I am as a student. I really blossomed here. And I think that connects back to, education of the whole person, quality education, which I'll touch more on as I continue talking. I'm sure all of us remember Mr. Mahaley. He was my C block teacher, and he told me something one day during A block that really stuck with me, and that's, Jenny Chua, I think you're one of those people that's always going to be in school. And I don't know why that stuck with me at the time, but here I am now back teaching. I chose to go to Loyola Marymount University, which is a Jesuit school in Los Angeles. To me, it felt the most similar to St. Mary's, the vibe, the size, what I wanted to pursue at the time. I knew that I really enjoyed science classes, particularly anatomy, physiology, biology. And at the time, the only career option that was really presented was going through the health route, whether it be medicine or other forms of working in healthcare. I did really well in school. I enjoyed my classes, so that was good. Kind of confirmed that I made the right decision in that sense, but I really was not happy with the community of pre-med students. They always seemed to be really stressed out and crying over tests, and I remember my time at St. Mary's and how holistic things were, right? There was, my cup was being filled in terms of my professional life, my personal life, my soul, my religious self, things like that. And so I remembered back to my experiences in middle and high school, and I remembered, teaching is something in the back of my head. So I talked to my advisor at the time, who happened to be the director of the NOIS program, which is a program for those interested in teaching at the secondary level. I got a really amazing scholarship. I had this wonderful internship at the Oakland Zoo where I met my boyfriend of now 3 years. So I credit my college advisor to making that happen. And now here I am teaching at St. Mary's. I taught for 2 years at the middle school level, and I really loved teaching then, but I never knew I could love teaching as much as I do now after being at St. Mary's for 3 weeks. My advice to all of you is to find something that fills your cup in every aspect, not just financial or professional. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself emotionally, socially, romantically, obviously professionally and financially as well. But happy to talk all things LMU, all things science, and I'm here for anyone if they have any questions. And I'll pass it to Ariana.
Hi everybody, my name is Miss Corwin. I'm a graduate of St. Mary's from the class of 2015. And I'll start my story junior year high school here at St. Mary's. We're sitting in, I believe it was Frady's, and I think it was just still during orientation, and they were like, all right, it's time to talk about college. And I'm like, what? College? And they're like, you start thinking about where you want to go, just all the things they start telling you. And it was really scary. I started freaking out because I had no idea. I hadn't really thought about it until that year. And one of the best things that helped me was, it was still junior year, but it was the LaSallian days, and we were visiting colleges. And I ended up going in the UC Davis group. And once I went on that campus, it was just a game changer because I finally got to see what it was. Because in my head, I thought it was a scary science school. That wasn't necessarily the case. It was a beautiful campus. And one of the things that really stood out to me was the veterinarian school, but more specifically just the amount of opportunities there were to work with animals on campus. And in my head at the time, I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I like animals, so I guess this is going to work for me. So then senior year rolls around. We start doing applications, and I'm like, I guess I'll apply to UC Davis. And then in my head, I was like, I guess I'll put in Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, because they also have like an animal program. Because in my head, that was still what I was focusing on, because I didn't really know what else I liked, and they were saying, pick a major, something you like to do. And I'm like, okay, well, animals is just that thing I'm going to keep rolling with. So then decisions come out, and my problem was as a student, my SAT scores weren't great. My grades were good, but my scores weren't. My writing was good too, but there's a lot of factors that go into college apps. And a big thing for a state school like Cal Poly, there is no essay, or at least at the time. I don't think that's changed though. But so they're only looking at grades and SAT scores. And another thing was animal science is a very heavily impacted major. Everyone applies for that. So I got denied from Cal Poly. And then for UC Davis, I got waitlisted. But there is that essay portion on the UC app, which is very important, so that did help me. And at that point, my parents were like, it's okay, you're probably going to go to community college anyways because that's our financial situation. And I was kind of bummed. I was like, okay, like, it doesn't have the best reputation, because in my head, there were a lot of stereotypes at the time about community college. That was kind of like the last resort, or if you had bad grades, or yada, yada, yada. But so that was kind of frustrating my senior year. But what happens when you're waitlisted at a college, you can appeal that. So I wrote a few more essays, appealed it, heard back. I got accepted to UC Davis. So now things started changing. I was like, I can go to UC Davis as an animal science major. And my parents were like, actually, you're not. You're still going to go to DVC, Diablo Valley College, because we can't afford UC Davis. And that was really frustrating to me, because at the time that was my goal. And I was like, what do you mean I can't follow where I want to go, which is Davis? But then it was actually Mr. Moen here at St. Mary's. He still teaches here. He was my cross country and track coach. And he said, DVC is actually a great opportunity because you can still be an athlete for 2 more years. So go contact the coach right now. Let's get you set up to run cross country and track, and just make the best of your situation, because this is actually a perfectly fine situation. So that's exactly what I did. I reached out to the coach, and I ended up having probably the best 2 years of my life at DVC. So everything worked out. It was great. And then the thing about community colleges, they have this thing called the TAG program, the Transfer Admission Guarantee. So that worked with most UCs, including UC Davis. So I was like, okay, I can still go to UC Davis. Like, this isn't a bad thing at all. But the best thing about going to community college was I had the time to realize I don't actually want to be an animal science major. I want to be an English major. So that 2-year period was probably the best thing, not only for running, athletics, my peace of mind, but also really having more time to think about my major. Because in high school, I just chose it because it was something I liked, but there really wasn't too much more thought into it. But DVC gave me that extra 2 years to pick a major that I actually really wanted to pursue and would use. So then I did go to UC Davis, my last 2 years there, and I still got to do my animal thing because there are plenty of clubs. So I was on one of the horseback riding clubs, and that was really fun. We got to compete, but yeah, that's my story. So it kind of took some turns, and I went the community college route, but I still ended up at Davis in the end.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Mr. Flemmer. I'm class of 2013 here. My college application process was very unique and very different to what many of you are probably going through right now. I was a highly recruited baseball player here at St. Mary's, and I was very blessed with great talent and really good ability to pitch. And I was recruited as a pitcher, all right? But the thing for me that really kept me in check, all right, was that my dad is a professor at St. Mary's College, so he really definitely emphasized the importance of academics and the importance of student-athlete, with student coming first. He really kept me in check there because I was heavily recruited, majority of the Pac-12 schools, Oregon, UCLA, Oregon State, name a few, UC Berkeley, Cal. And when I made my decision, I chose Oregon State my junior year. I made a verbal commitment, so I already knew where I wanted to go, all right, which is way ahead of schedule in comparison to the average senior who makes a decision on when they want to go halfway through their senior year or whenever they make that decision. But I knew early on where I wanted to go, chose Oregon State, and then signed my letter of intent in November. So mainly talking about just that whole process. Even though I was committed, I signed the national letter of intent to go there, I still had to go through the application process nonetheless, all right? Because one, yeah, like you were appealing to the coaches that recruited you there, all right, but you still had to fulfill the requirements through the admissions process, through their admissions department. So I still had to apply, all right? Basically, obviously write the essay, pretty much basically sell myself, as well as basically meet the requirements in terms of GPA. So that was also another reason why when my senior year rolled around here at St. Mary's, all right, or I knew where I wanted to go, all right, I still had to be on top of my academics, all right? Because, hey, even though you're recruited, you're assigned on the dotted line, the national letter of intent, all right? If you happen to slack off in school and your GPA drops below the requirement, all right, they could probably reconsider that decision, basically being able to accept you into the school. So basically, I stayed on top of my academics, all right, until I graduate here, all right, and then made it to Oregon State in the fall of 2013. I played 2 seasons there, and then obviously when you're a college athlete, you have to learn definitely to balance time, all right? So obviously, for me, early morning workouts, all right? Then go to class, then you have practice, then after school, you go to the academic center to basically complete your homework, study for your exams, all right? So really, definitely for me, it was a great skill to balance my time and plan out my days. So definitely being able to do that and being able to manage time and juggle a few things in terms of athletics and academics was very beneficial for me, because not only did I play well in college, but I did well academically. I made the dean's list at Oregon State and was one of the team leaders, I would say, for lack of a better term, in terms of GPA. I had one of the highest GPAs on the team. All right. But fast forward now to the end of my sophomore year. All right. I transferred from Oregon State due to certain circumstances, and then decided to come back to UC Berkeley, which was great for me. I was close to family and friends now, and was able to live at home, which for me is great because I'm saving money, all right, and not living in an apartment where I have to pay rent. So definitely it was very beneficial from a financial standpoint to do that. Graduated from UC Berkeley in 2018, and then eventually came back here to St. Mary's, where I was substitute teaching and coaching. But then I went to grad school. I know, again, I had myself, because you're going to your undergrad programs and deciding what colleges you want to go to. Went to Minnesota for a year, got my master's of education in sport and exercise science, but then came back to work here at St. Mary's to become a teacher and then work in athletic administration. But one of the few advice and few tips I can give you is to really make sure, take the opportunity time to visit schools that you're interested in, all right? Because I know a lot of students, or when I was growing up with, that played baseball as well, all right? They made a choice to go play baseball at that school without even going to the campus. So really take the time, plan a trip wherever you want to go, all right? Whatever school it is, all right? Actually take time to go there and actually see the campus, all right? And then on top of that, do extra research as well. Make sure it's a place where it has an appealing program that interests you, all right? And also as well, make sure it's a welcoming community, and actually really think if it's a place you feel like you'll thrive, all right? Because I know a lot of kids that I grew up with definitely made the choice to go to certain schools for different reasons, but obviously it wasn't really a beneficial reason for them. And they're kind of really stuck on what they really want to do with their lives once they were done with college. So really, when you go visit schools and when you're applying, really take the time and do extra research on the school and take time to actually go see it in person, all right? And actually really think to yourself, hey, is this a place where I see myself being here? Is this a place where I can succeed, all right? And does it offer programs that I think I'll really enjoy and maybe hopefully build a career off of that? So that's my story. I'm now going to transition over to Mr. Rao.
Hello, my name is Patrick Rao, and I am the elder states person up here. I graduated from St. Mary's in 2001, 20 years ago, it's a long time. And my story is, I think, unique, just like everybody's story up here, where I knew that I was taking the junior college route pretty much my junior year of high school. I did not apply myself like I should have academically. My SAT scores were not great as well. But the holistic experience that Ms. Ochoa talked about here at the school, really gave me kind of the foundation to know that the junior college route was a good route. It's, there are the stigmatisms, but it was perfect for someone like myself. So I went to College of Marin, which is in Marin County, and I studied there psychology. From there, I spent 3 years, which normally it's 2, you hear, but 3 years. I transferred to St. Mary's College without ever visiting, to Mr. Flemmer's point. I spent 8 days there and realized this was not the place for me. So I went back to College of Marin. And then from there, my biggest piece of advice mid-story is go see your counselors. Here, Ms. Shubin, Mr. Turner, talk to them. I finally went to a counselor after neglecting counselors for 3 years, and she got me on track and asked, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. So I finally started taking classes that transferred to colleges, which was a good start. And then I transferred to a junior college in San Diego after applying to San Diego State and getting waitlisted, missing a class or two. So I actually transferred junior colleges, which is pretty rare, I think. And I finished my junior college down in San Diego and then transferred into San Diego State in the spring of a long time ago and finished there with 3 more years. So long story short is there is, not always a linear path straight through. It took me about 8 years to finish at San Diego State. I then went into a career in retail, which lasted 25 years. And then, lo and behold, I came back to St. Mary's in July of this year. So that's kind of, my story. And I will now pass it to Ms. Shubin to round us out.
So we have a couple questions for the panel, and thanks so much for participating. To start off, what is one thing you wish you knew in the application process? Open to anyone.
I can start. One thing I wish I knew was to not necessarily apply to a college or be interested in a college just based on their reputation in, the world of admissions. There's something about Cal, no offense, I know you went there, but there's something that attracts so many people, right? It's this prestigious institution. To say that you went to Cal Berkeley is a very prestigious thing. My dad went there, he graduated from their business school. It was always kind of maybe you'll go to Cal one day and wear all the gear and go to the games and rah, things like that. But when it came time to application season, I just didn't feel super connected to the campus. I knew I wanted to go somewhere small, and Berkeley is not a small school, even though you can, find your niche and there are smaller aspects of it. So, rounding back to what I first said, don't go based off of the reputation that it might have. There are some great smaller schools out there, CSUs, private schools, religious schools that have wonderful opportunities. So widen your net when you cast it.
I think for me, obviously, just the unique experience I have being a committed athlete and playing at Oregon State. I think one of the things I just only really considered how prestigious the baseball program was, because in 2006, 2007, they came off of back-to-back national championships, and they had a really good team, and I really wanted to be able to be a part of that tradition. So I didn't really take into consideration other aspects. Literally, it only being a college town, which is great, all right, and being on a college team, everyone loves you there, but that was it. Obviously, coming from the city, definitely different culture shock, I would say, just because once you get out of Corvallis, Oregon, which is where Oregon State is, it's a very small town, college town, all right. There's really nothing else around to go to. The next biggest city is Portland, which is an hour and a half away. So I was really too fixated on basically how successful the program was, all right, and then just the opportunities to be able to compete for Pac-12 conference championships and national championships. I didn't really take into consideration those aspects. So, and then also another thing on other visits that I did prior to going to Oregon State, just trying to find time to, one, obviously you're able to see all the athletic facilities of the campus, but I wish I had more time to basically see the classrooms, meet with academic counselors, meet with professors, to learn more about the academic side, even academic advisors, because when you play on a college team, there are academic advisors assigned to those specific teams. So I really wish when I was getting recruited and doing these visits, taking a lot of time, spending time with them to learn more about the academic side as well, because again, basically growing up in a family that really emphasized academics.
Oh, can I add one thing? My problem was that I was a little too proactive, actually. I wanted to do everything on my own and just get it done way before the deadline. But my mistake was I never used my college counselors. So at the time at St. Mary's when I was here, I believe we had one. But even then, I should have gone to her more and she could have helped me decide which places to apply. She probably could have told me, hey, if you want to apply to Cal Poly, it's only going to be your SAT scores and your grades, and you're applying for the most impacted major. Maybe you should do undeclared. That might give you a better chance. Things like that, I didn't really consider because I wanted to do it all on my own. So really use your college counselors here because their job is to help you.
That's great. Thank you. Another question for you. What advice would you give to students applying to colleges now who are currently at St. Mary's?
I just think kind of what everybody said is to go see your counselor and be open to any and all options anywhere. I think that's the best. Just have an open mind. Ms. Ochoa touched on it. Yes, everybody wants to go to Cal, but be open-minded to any option out there.
Visit the campus for sure. I would do that because you're going to be there for probably 4 years. You can always transfer and stuff, but majority of the time you're going to be there for a whole 4 years. So you better make sure you like it. It's like the weather. If you're going, say, like more on the East Coast, it's going to be cold. What if you grew up in California, you're used to the heat? You know, take those things into consideration a little bit.
And make sure it's a good fit for you. All right. See if they offer a program you're interested in. All right. Get a head start on that. And then I think one thing I'll also add, if it happens to be a junior college, all right, there's no shame. I know there's stigmatism that Mr. Rao talked about. But I remember on my graduation day here, Dr. Imperial had a great speech, but one of the things that stuck with me was like talking about the negative view of junior colleges. He said, if you go to junior college, it's a step, all right? It's a step in the right direction on the way to something great. So I would just say if you're someone thinking about junior college, keep that in mind as well.
And talk to your teachers whose classes you're really interested in. I know I talked to a lot of my science teachers at the time about their career path or their journey through college, their journey to get to where they are. If you're interested in social studies or religion or math, talk to those professors because we all have our own stories clearly, and I'm sure they're more than happy to share with you theirs.
So to kind of pivot off what everyone is saying, a follow-up question to that is, at St. Mary's we have a lot of resources for students and parents to be able to come to talk about. What is one thing you think in terms of letters of recommendations or essays that St. Mary's can really work to in terms of who you ask for that?
So funny enough, science was not my best subject academics-wise, I guess GPA-wise, but those were the teachers that I connected with the most. Miss Williams was also in charge of LSL, which was student council at the time, and I was on student council really heavily involved my senior year, and I asked her and another teacher who also did LSL. They got to know me outside of the classroom setting. Miss Williams knew me in class as a student as well, but you want someone who will enhance who you are, going back to that holistic education, the whole person, to tell your story, not just, so-and-so got an A- in my class, they're a hard worker, generic things like that. You want to be able to stand out in that sense.
Thanks so much. And our last question, again, thanks for participating on the panel. What advice would you give to parents and for the college admission process?
Well, being a parent of a senior in high school myself, ask questions, as many questions as you can, because it's a relearning process for myself as well. As a parent, I think I had a pretty narrow-minded view of where, I wanted my daughter to go to school, but there's just so many options out there. So as a parent, just ask your kid questions, email a counselor if you have to, get involved as much as you possibly can. And don't let the financial side of it worry, because there are a lot of options to help with that.
To add to that, when I was at DVC and UC Davis, there was a portal for scholarships, and it included about 300 different scholarships, but it was all just through one application. And I found that out on my own at DVC. And then once I went to UC Davis, I was like, does this exist here? And I found out it did. So I filled that out twice, and I was awarded scholarships at DVC. One was for running track, and then at UC Davis, I got another one for my major. And it was really simple. It's just a few essay questions, that's it. So if financial hardships are something that is on your mind, just know there's a lot more opportunities than you realize at colleges. And sometimes there are just scholarships sitting there and no one's applied for it because some people don't know about this. So it's easy to find scholarships to apply for and actually get some free money.
Thanks so much for your panel. And just to remind everyone for coming today to this great event. And if you have any questions, contact myself, Ms. Shubin, or Mr. Turner, and we're happy to answer you. And we have some upcoming events that actually focus on many of the topics they talked about, scholarships, coffee with a counselor, and different events. And you are feel free to welcome. And we hope that you were able to get some insight on some alums at St. Mary's. And we hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. And remember,
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers!